Now, if you have a close look at this rock here, you can see that they're not granules, and so they're sort of crystals that are sort of reflective macro and microscopically. And it's quite important that you get that, because otherwise you might confuse this with limestone. And so another one that you might confuse it with, it looks almost completely identical, is this one here. And there's only a chemical test, really. You can tell the difference between them. Sometimes they look so similar. So that one's quartzite, which will be in another video. So they're metamorphic. So if it was limestone, I'd also expect it to be far more porous. And if I put a drop on here. All right, so hopefully you can see that a little clearer. Not quite sure if it's porous, semi-porous. Try and get the focus in on that one. I can kind of see it quite well with my eyes. Not sure if I can get the... There we go. You can see it's not doing much on the digital microscope. So if it was limestone, I'd probably expect that to be a lot more porous than what it is. Also, if I take a few specks off it, you can see that the calcite crystals. It's only a bifocal lens, so they're quite large. So I think we're going to have to go fairly confidently then that it's not amorphous, that there are definitely crystals on there, and they're not classed. So we're definitely going for the crystals here. And so we're going to write off limestone. If there are little bits and pieces and it fizzes, well, there we go. We're at limestone, and it absorbs water. We'll talk about how to differentiate from marble later. And so they come off and they're colorless. They're actually quite clear. So they're soft as they just break off. You can be any of these, but they are slaty. You can see they're sort of flat looking. So even if you did go fine, but they are quite large, which takes us into the right area of metamorphic. So we'll go down to the metamorphics. And so it isn't foliated. It isn't in sheets. So it's non-foliated, and they're quite large. The key point here is you react it with HCl and it fizzes, so it must be marble. And that's the key way you can tell that whether it's marble or quartzite. I had a lot of trouble with the quartzites. I've done a lot more tests on top of that, and I'll show you that later, which is quite relevant for marble too, actually. Some further insights into marble as well as into quartzite. So I recommend you watch that one.